First, hi everyone. So my name is Xioyan. You can also call me Adele. And so I graduated from Sciences Po Paris and Hertie School, specializing in competition policy. And first, I would like to really thank you, Professor Miller, and thank your team for accepting this research in the panel. Today, I'll be presenting a case analysis on Amazon and Alibaba. Unfortunately, my co-author, Professor Daniela Stockman, cannot be here, so I will try my best to cover her part. I think we all remember very well, I mean, these days, all these regulatory investigations on big platforms are often on the headline. And among all of them, I think what Daniela and I noticed is that there seems to exist like a parallel reality. So on one hand, in the US and also in Europe, a lot of the regulatory efforts was focusing, I mean, in the e-commerce business was very much focusing on Amazon. And also Amazon serves like the basis for a lot of the theory development as well as empirical research. However, in China, not only the platform regulation is a rather, let's say, nascent topic, but then our regulators and our researchers, our attention seems to be drawn to another company called Alibaba that has, relatively speaking, less presence in the, let's say, Western markets. So these just draw to my research question, our research questions that first is, what are the similarities and differences between platform power of Amazon and Alibaba? And second to that is, what would be the implications of this comparative analysis and what would it tell to platform regulations? And I think you can already see from this research questions that this research is very much relying on a lot of the theories and discussions developed in the competition studies, because also the keyword itself, platform power, is also an emerging concept from this domain. And thus, I'll just quickly walk through. So first, we will set up the analytical framework, quickly reviewing what have we discussed about platform power. And then we will dive into the comparison and focusing mainly on the differences between these two companies. And lastly, we'll give like a quick reflection on what is the implication on regulations. Okay, so first we need to talk a bit about what is it like the platform power. I think for many of us here, we're already very familiar with the classic market power, which centers around this price. And so for platform power, in our research, we take the definition given by Professor Cohen from Georgetown University, and we can see from the slides that her definition is different than the classic one, and it emphasizes very much on this ability to constrain. And so what gives platform this ability to constrain, especially in the e-commerce sector? And so I read through a lot of the literature recently on this concept. And what I first find out is this mentioning of the infrastructural nature of platforms in our digital economy. And so we are already very familiar with the business model of platforms. It's basically providing a digital infrastructure that link more than one party to do their transactions. And so this business model already creates the basis of the concept that we often heard today, network effects or locking. And the bigger the platform is, the stronger this network effects would be. And then what also happened is that it also put online sellers in a potential power imbalance, as it makes them very hard to really leave these big platforms. But we also noticed that network effects as well as locking, these are not really new concepts or new terms. The US Supreme Court already said a lot about them in the context of the telecommunication industries in the past. And so when I read more, what I notice is that there is another element that makes digital platforms very powerful in our era, and that is the collection, the accumulation, and the utilization of data. So data is really like a new asset that would fuel the success and the competitiveness of platforms, because they can not only use data to strengthen their monopolistic position, and they can also use it to develop new products as well as improve consumer experiences. I mean, I think a lot of them we can find already in the behavior of Amazon. And then let's move on to what are the impact of platform power. So what have the researchers said about the impact? And here, I think first on the economic impacts, today we discussed a lot about this abuse of dominant position, and those abuses sometimes impact healthy competition as well as consumer welfare. So I'll try to not repeating what the previous presenters have already said, but here I just wanted to say a lot of those abusive behaviors such as predatory pricing, abuse of using the other sellers, third-party sellers' data, we can find them, we can find references on Amazon. And then there's also some research talking about the political impact. And here we see a lot of them is from the angle of, let's say, political economy or sometimes even more political science approach. So for example, I've got very inspired by this research about these platforms acting almost a quasi, like a private regulator role within its ecosystem. And so here the concern is that because platforms can change code and algorithm at will, so which makes the users have quite little means to really resist this private regulations. And there are also some research concerning about the impact of data commodification as a core purpose of profit making. I think one very notable example of this is the research on surveillance capitalism by Professor Zuboff. We also have some others I'll just quickly go through, such like they do from a more political science approach concerning issues such as privacy, social profiling, access to accurate information, etc. However, this we're probably not going to touch upon too much in the case of e-commerce. So now we have just summarized a lot of research on platform power, its sources, its impact, and as we are aware, many of them are based on years of observation of a lot of times American-based company in GAFA, especially in the context of e-commerce on Amazon. So now naturally the question comes, so how are Amazon and Alibaba comparable? So I put on two graphs here. They are summary of the business portfolio of these two companies. And we can see that clearly they are very similar. So we can see that both of them operate mainly in the e-commerce business. Both of them are very dominant in the geographic market that they operate, or most of the geographic markets that they operate. So they're definitely vital infrastructures for sellers who want to promote their products online. And also we can see that both of them are also more than just like e-retailing platforms. They also get auxiliary businesses in media and entertainment, as well as cloud computing. But then are they really the same? So if we talk about the sources of platform power, what I noticed is that Alibaba has a stronger control of the data flow, which means it features much more of a comprehensiveness as well as exclusiveness. So here I would like to give you an example with Backpack, which I happen to be searching 2 months back. I know a lot of times in Europe and also in the US, you would just directly go to Amazon, but for the sake of research, I still Googled it. So here on the left-hand side, you can see a screenshot from my Google search result. So Google showcases some purchasing link among the top search results. Among them, we can find Google Shopping. We also find some other third-party platforms, and among the third-party platforms, we see Amazon. So here, so I would assume that in this case, basically Google and Amazon would share this consumer purchasing intention intelligence. However, this is not really the case for Alibaba, which on the right-hand side, you can see the Baidu search result, which is, we can understand it as the Chinese Google. And you can see that among the search results, there's not really any link to the Alibaba platforms. And if a buyer wants to buy a backpack from Alibaba platforms, which are pretty dominant in the Chinese e-commerce market, you would always have to go to Taobao or Tmall, and then you also search weekend backpack, and this is the search results. And so here, what I would assume that it means that the Alibaba would have a much better control of the data flow. And also, since the buyers have to really stick to these platforms, which also means that the sellers are not very likely to pay for advertising, to pay for these ads on Baidu, and therefore making Alibaba kind of having this monopoly over the digital marketing of sellers on its own platform. To further illustrate that we can see that Amazon is like part of this e-commerce business journey. So it is where the transaction would take place. Again, a merchant still has to pay for other branding or broadcasting channels such as Facebook, YouTube, Google Ads to promote its products. However, if we look at sellers on the Alibaba platform, this is not really the case. They can really do everything within the ecosystem, which I think for regulation, it will be a very interesting, let's say, business model different that might make us think about things a bit different. And here, just a short quote from Zeng Ming, is the chair of the Alibaba Academic Council. I really like how he described the business model of the company. So it is really like what Amazon, eBay, PayPal, Google, FedEx, and a lot of the wholesalers and a good portion of the manufacturers in the US combined. Okay, so next we're going to talk about the impact of platform powers between the two companies, and we would first look at the economic impact. So I think in the US context, in the context of Amazon, Khan already offered a very in-depth analysis of the competition concern of Amazon. She described a paradox where Amazon leveraged its role as a vital intermediary and exploits information collected on other sellers on Amazon and use those information to undermine other sellers as competitors. And in contrast, Alibaba does not really directly sell to consumers, and this implies that Alibaba is exempted from the controversies surrounding Amazon's practices as a biased host, let's put it this way. However, this does not mean that Alibaba does not have any competition concern. And I think as previously, as Professor He already mentioned a lot, that this exclusive dealing article is what I think in China, a lot of discussions about the competition concern on Alibaba. And here, we can see that in a way, the abusive behaviors from Alibaba is much more straightforward and also is more platform centered. Next, in terms of the political impact of platforms. So while both companies engage in conventional public affairs activities, in comparison, that I think Alibaba takes a much more proactive role in cooperating with the state regulators, as well as seeking to be part of the state policy agenda. So on the regulation front, we can see this is on the screenshots from the left-hand side, that Alibaba really embraces this co-regulation approach by the Chinese government. Yesterday, I also heard Professor Qing mentioned about this. So I'm trying to try to be a bit more concise. So from here, you can see that the Alibaba works a lot with the police and the judicial systems at various levels of the Chinese government to work on matters or issues such as counterfeits and illegal goods, sometimes like trafficking, etc. Another thing that we notice on Alibaba, but then not really, we haven't observed this on Amazon, is the fact that Alibaba Group incentivizes or promote its own initiative to be part of the state's policy agenda. So for example, here we like to use the case of Taobao Village. So Taobao Village in a nutshell are those villages that are actively participating in e-commerce businesses. And so how Alibaba promote this concept is that from its vast transaction data it collected, it identified the location of those villages. It would do some further investigation, and then it would, let's say, set up this official collaboration with the local government. And this collaboration means two things, is that on one hand, Alibaba would promote the local e-commerce small businesses on its platforms. But on the other hand, it also means that Alibaba is kind of promoting this public image or this success stories of Alibaba or Taobao as a growth facilitator in the Chinese rural. You can see in the right-hand side, this is a screenshot, and also from their own research think tank website. And this is the distribution of those Taobao village roughly in China. And this campaign already started in 2010. And interestingly, in 2014, Chinese Premier Li Keqiang mentioned e-commerce as a means to alleviate Chinese rural areas out of poverty. So here we see that Alibaba, although being, let's say, a private company, it's strategically contribute to the broader goals and policies of the Chinese government. So here we're already reaching the conclusion. I hope by now I have already managed to demonstrate that Alibaba is not simply a copycat of its counterpart Amazon. While they operate in a very similar core business, Alibaba shows that the abuse of platform power in e-commerce can primarily rest on providing infrastructure, embeds its business model into the political economy of the Chinese state, and thus becomes part of the Chinese government's broader strategy for digital economy. And so here are three, let's say, questions that I hope it can enlighten for further, like some more research in the future. And I would definitely agree with Sarah, on that we need to really look into the business model. So maybe platform regulation better suited a rule of reason approach. And second, I think the common inspiration is that this focusing on data is probably very vital in designing meaningful platform regulations, at least for the e-commerce. And I think lastly, it's very interesting from an even more, let's say, political philosophy perspective. So how should our regulation accommodate a powerful private company that is increasingly public in the digital era? So I hope that I really managed to squeeze all the contents in time. Thank you so much. And also, I'm very much looking forward to the discussion afterwards.